is truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live with Thursday, July 30th, 2020. Hope everybody's having a good day. A lot to discuss as I, hold on, get me the time code where they start talking about the amendment to ban corporate money. I think it is around 2 hour mark. Sorry, folks. Hope everybody's having an okay day. Very, very busy. Got some news that I broke earlier that we're going to discuss, and a lot of other things going on. Make sure you smash that like button right under the live stream video. We already got 130 people watching. 86 of you have pressed that like button. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, our friend Herman Cain. Who would have known? You go to a indoors arena during a deadly pandemic where the state of Oklahoma is through the roof with coronavirus cases. You don't wear a mask at the age of 73, I believe he was. You then get coronavirus a week later, get seriously ill, and die. Not trying to mock Herman Cain, feel for his family, but I think this puts to rest the political debate about wearing a mask. R.I.P. Herman. Hope you have good pizza in heaven. Moving on. There was a DNC Rules Committee meeting today. And I'm not really big on the DNC convention. I don't really think it matters that much. The platform, to me, might as well be rolled up, thrown in the garbage, no matter what Joe Biden and the corporate Democrats agree to on the platform. If he became president, he's going to take that platform, throw it in the bonfire on the White House lawn, and smoke a good cigar as him and his donors smoke cigars, drink champagne, and down caviar. So, not so focused on the platform, but it is interesting to see. What is going on behind the scenes? What is going on behind the scenes at the platform? Is Bernie Sanders' delegates campaign? Are they actually fighting for their ideals, even though we know that these ideals, aren't worth the paper they're really written on? What is going on behind the scenes? So I got a little news earlier, which we're going to talk about. But before we get to that, as a reminder, smash that like button. Also, if you weren't here yesterday, I was not able to sleep last night. I was so excited. Get your status Coup masks while they're hot off the presses. I think we sold like 40 masks yesterday. There you have it. In our store, Jen will put it in the super chat. You could wear them, wash them, whatever. So more than one-time use. To be clear, not N95 masks. They're not certified as anything. They're just masks to put over your face, but we're not telling you that this is the doctor-approved mask. N95 masks, you can't even really, you can't really do logos or designs over N95 masks, but by popular demand, there it is. If you want to purchase it, your purchase is really, really appreciated because Status Coup uses that to grow all the revenue from the mass purchases. Other folks are purchasing shirts and other items in our swag store. So definitely get your mask while available. Also, sign up as a Status Coup member. statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Makes a big, big difference. So, have some sources that are on the Rules Committee. And the Rules Committee is essentially, sets the conditions for things like what will be the deal with superdelegates going forward. We know that the Bernie wing got the superdelegates moved to the second ballot. That was the Rules Committee who got that done. More specifically, the DNC Unity Commission. So those are the kind of things that are discussed. You would also have things like maybe diminishing the amount of caucuses during the Democratic primary, turning more caucuses into Democratic primaries. So those are the type of things. So right before the meeting today, because there was a Rules Committee meeting today, and I'm literally just going to read from my tweet, because it's the easiest thing. I got a call from one member of the DNC Rules Committee, and then I checked what this member of the DNC Rules Committee was telling me with another member. They're both in the Bernie wing of the DNC Rules Committee. Multiple Bernie Sanders supporting members of the Democratic National Committee's Convention Rules Committee tell me that on conference call Wednesday, Sanders' senior campaign advisor, Jeff Weaver, who we know was Bernie's campaign manager in 2016, we know is Bernie's most loyal, beloved political aide. Most campaign workers did not love Jeff Weaver. Most campaign workers felt that he has done a disservice to Bernie, but for whatever reason, Bernie loves him some Jeff Weaver and has always given Jeff Weaver an enormous amount of power and trust in Jeff Weaver. Well, apparently yesterday, on a conference call, Jeff Weaver asked all of the committee members on the Rules Committee supporting Bernie to drop whatever proposals they planned on making, or else they'd, quote, be going against the movement. This was said to me by one and then confirmed to me by another person on the Rules Committee. So, again, I spoke with members on the Rules Committee. By the way, this is a super chat, so let me make sure I don't miss any. N Stark 007 was having a good day until I checked your Twitter. Sorry to ruin your day. Love you. Sean Carr Music, $3. Appreciate it. Swirly Swirl, $10. Our group just got our BLM flag, and we are going to fly it next to the American flag and follow the flag code to outdo our counter protesters. My inner Girl Scout is going to show them what for. Love it. Love it. Awesome. So basically, the source I was speaking to, this source was making proposals on superdelegates. There was proposals that were going to be made on caucuses. There were proposals that were going to be made just on extending the length of this meeting, because it's a 2-hour meeting. They wanted to extend it to 4 hours. There were proposals for a lot of things. Basically, Weaver was quoted to me, bullied them on the phone. We have made an agreement with Joe Biden's campaign. The agreement will get the super delegates on the second ballot extended to 2024, meaning super ballots, how they were, it didn't come into play this time, but how they were moved from the first ballot voting to the second ballot, that would be extended to 2024. So the committee members who had been proposing making them voting on the second, who wanted to propose making them vote on the second ballot as permanent, not just extended to 2024, but making that a extended permanent rule, were told by Jeff Weaver not to propose that. The members who wanted to propose doing away with superdelegates were told by Jeff Weaver not to propose this. Weaver said, quote, "They made a deal with the Biden campaign and that they are asking all Bernie people on the committee to drop their proposals. Deal they made was that superdelegates rule moving them to the second ballot would be extended to the 2024 election. Quote, this is what Bernie wants," one source recounted Weaver saying on the call. Proposals Weaver asked members to drop: superdelegates on second ballot, making that a permanent thing, eliminating superdelegates altogether. He even told them to drop expanding mail-in ballots, longer voting hours, and expanding early vote, as well as a proposal to move more states from holding caucuses to primaries. I was told by one source they want a puppet meeting, sources tell me. At least the platform committee could make proposals. On the conference call was Weaver, a Bernie campaign lawyer, a few staffers, and Bernie supporting members of the Rule Committee. Weaver was leading the, quote, sort of bullying to convince everyone to drop their proposals, one source told me. So we could go a lot of different directions with this. Like I said, I don't really take a lot of stock in the Democratic National Convention platform, Rules Committee. I mean, just look at the people that chair these committees. Barney Frank, former congressman, is the chairman of the Rules Committee. He's a swine. He works basically for Wall Street now. You also have Maria Cardona, who is literally a CNN contributor while being a lobbyist. So, I mean, these committees, both the platform committees as well as the Rules Committee, are not exactly made up of, I don't want to sound like Trump, they're not bringing their best. And for those new to this channel, because by the way, just passed 85,000 subscribers, woohoo! For those new here, you might have missed our piece that I reported a couple weeks ago, kind of dropping the veil on the Bernie Sanders campaign. But this is not new Bernie Sanders leaning on Jeff Weaver. And frankly, Jeff Weaver fucking up. Let me read this short part from this piece. I just dropped it in there. For those who've worked with Bernie Sanders or covered him, a basic contradiction eventually presented itself. For a guy who talks a lot about revolution, he didn't like stepping outside of his comfort zone a whole lot. From 2015 through now, the most consistent political trait of Sanders was how small his inner circle he kept was, one chosen primarily due to loyalty rather than competence. Quote, when you have been on the outside for so long and you've seen lots of people in D.C. that don't share your values, for whatever reason, over time, what's rewarded is loyalty, not competence, a high-level staffer from Bernie's 2020 campaign told Status Coup. So, quote, he has trusted Jeff for a very long time, even though Jeff has shown himself to not always be trustworthy, the same source told me. Bernie and Jane are not the best managers, to be honest. They don't want to get mired down in how you actually execute things and make them happen. They turn over and over again to Jeff to be the one who they put their trust in and sort everything out. Weaver's short-lived tenure with Our Revolution is important to understand when forwarding to the 2020 campaign. Knowing that he couldn't convince key 2016 staffers to come back with Weaver at the helm, Sanders hired the ACLU's Fez Shakir to run the campaign. Despite Shakir coming on to run the campaign, Weaver still had a front seat at the table for all major strategic decisions, according to a high-level staffer who spoke with Status Coup. Weaver's role was especially prominent in the early period of the campaign when Shakir, who had never run a political campaign before, deferred to Weaver for guidance on things he simply didn't know. This popped as a red flag to some high-level staffers on the 2020 campaign, considering Weaver was widely condemned by 2016 staffers for mismanagement and faulty strategy. Jeff's management style turned off many 2016 staffers, a top-down approach disinterested in hearing other staffers' views. Quote, Jeff's view was like, hey, we're running a military operation. I just made a call, and that's that, and we're going to go with it, one staffer told Status Coup. Strategically, many 2016 staffers argued with Weaver over his championing of a more traditional, heavy TV advertisement approach, over investing more heavily in a robust paid organizing operation. With the concern over a 2016 redux, many returning staffers from the 2016 campaign were optimistic when Shakir was named campaign manager. Unfortunately for them, Sanders' loyalty to Weaver still loomed large. Quote, Jeff was a de facto second campaign manager, a high-level campaign staffer told Status Coup. Almost every major decision had to be made by both Jeff and Fez together, which did not make things function smoothly. So that's just a little bit of the piece we reported a couple weeks ago. And why that's important, yes, obviously, Weaver, trying to bully Bernie appointed and Bernie supporting members of the Rules Committee to not make proposals. I mean, obviously Bernie is aware of this, so you can't just blame Weaver. But to me, Bernie delegates an extraordinary amount of authority to Weaver because of misplaced trust that this guy knows what he's doing, or misplaced trust that this guy's motives are pure. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I can't get in his head. But why, if you are the Bernie wing, why do you just surrender right away? You want to support Donald Trump? If you're Bernie Sanders, Weaver, and the others, okay. Bernie, there's a lot of people criticizing him for even doing that. He said he was going to support the Democratic nominee. He says Trump is the most reprehensible threat to democracy ever. Okay. You're going to support Biden? Great. That's fine. But you're just going to, what does Bernie say? You don't start the negotiations offering half a loaf? You demand the full loaf and then negotiate? So why are you trying to bully the progressives on the committee not to propose any bold rules changes that could benefit progressives, particularly the next generation that might be running in 2024? By the way, we got 355 people watching. 225 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get another 100? Please, please, please. Kindly press that like button. Makes a big difference. But there was more. There was more. The committee voted to table a resolution to change the DNC's charter. Hold on. Oh, damn it. The committee voted to table a resolution to change the DNC's charter to permanently bar corporate PAC donations to the DNC. Shocker. It's already a rule in effect this cycle, and bar corporate lobbyists. The vote to table was 122 to 46. To table? Well, I suppose tabling is better than voting no. Bernie appointee Brent Welder expressed alarm about tabling it since it saves the DNC the trouble of going on the record about it and likely shooting it down. I am hearing that other progressive rules committee members are also not pleased. So it's good to hear that at least some of the members told Jeff Weaver to go take a hike and did propose rules changes. So I'm going to play you a part of this, if you could take it, so you could just see what exactly the Democratic Party is as a resistance to Donald Trump. Here we go.
We now move to proposal number 7, the proposed charter amendment to reject PAC money and banning corporate lobbyists from serving on the DNC. I will now recognize Brent Welder to offer proposal number 7.
Hello and thank you. Again, my name is Brent Welder. I'm from Kansas. In 2018, I ran for United States Congress, and I actually created the No Corporate PAC Money Pledge. And I was the first candidate in the country to take this pledge. As I'm sure you know, since that time, hundreds of members of Congress, presidential candidates, other candidates for office at all levels of government have taken this pledge and this stand, and it has excited Democrats and Americans alike across the country because they really feel like they're electing leaders that support them and not just the corporate interests. In 2017, the DNC members then took a strong stand against corporate PAC money by voting on a resolution to ban corporate PAC donations to the DNC, which is fantastic. The amendment today that I'm proposing puts this language into the DNC charter and also bans corporate lobbyists from serving on the DNC. Now, the corrupting influence of big money in politics is the biggest factor stopping progress on issues that affect the poor, minorities, women, workers, and so many others that we as Democrats work to defend from the greedy corporate interests of far too many multinational corporations that all too often care about only one thing, and that's the almighty dollar. Too many giant corporations will do almost anything, even if it harms people, as long as it makes their profits tick up by even 0.1% at the end of their financial quarter. This is undeniable. Our platform says we are committed to doing everything we can to build a full employment economy where everyone has a job that pays enough to raise a family and live in dignity with a sense of purpose. However, you know, there's a proposed law on this that has no co-sponsors. Why? Corporate interests do not want a federal job guarantee. It would drive up wages and reduce profits. Union rights are being trampled. I'm a union side labor lawyer. And women earn less money at work than men doing the exact same job. Why? Because giant corporations lobby against the laws that we can and should pass to fix that. Our platform says Americans should be able to access public coverage through a public option. The Choice Act, a public option for health insurance, has been introduced in the House of Representatives. It has 20 co-sponsors. Medicare for All is co-sponsored by 1/3 of the Democrats in the Senate and about half the Democrats in the House. Our platform also says that Democrats have been fighting to secure universal health care for the American people for generations. We have not been able to win that fight because of private, for-profit health insurance companies who oppose a public option. Our platform says Democrats believe in climate change and that it poses, or believe that climate change poses a real and urgent threat to our economy, our national security, and our children's health and futures, and that Americans deserve the jobs and security that come from becoming the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. We are not even close to passing a Green New Deal. And why is that? Because corporations that make up the fossil fuel industry are willing to doom our children and grandchildren to a catastrophic future rather than see the possibility of their profits shrinking at all. We need to neutralize corporate influence, first within our party, that is preventing us from living up to our platform, our ideals, and being a true party of the people. The party of the people cannot put profits ahead of people and remain the party of the people.
Thank you, Mr. Krylov. I'm now going to call on Jerry Goldfeder for additional remarks.
Rules of parliamentary procedure generally, until someone makes a successful motion to take it off the table. With the expiration of the committee, that wouldn't be possible. I mean, after the committee expires, if no one is moved to take it off the table successfully, then it dies with the committee.
Gotcha. Wow, that doesn't make any sense at all.
To table this proposal.
Contributor gives to our party, that contributor is signed.
Week or here the convention month is really the time to pull together to make sure that we have the best unified effort going forward to elect our next president. And these kinds of proposals, I think, are best deferred for that study by a commission, which will happen. So for that reason, I do not support this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Krylov. I'm now going to call on Jerry Goldfeder for additional remarks.
Thank you very much. I was muted. I'm from New York, and it's a pleasure to see so many friends from around the country and be part of this process. I've been at conventions like Mike since 1968, and I agree with a lot of what he says. I was appointed to the Rules Committee by Joe Biden, who I strongly support. Obviously, the campaign finance and campaign finance reform issues are extremely important. I've been privileged to be an election lawyer and a campaign finance lawyer for more years than I care to remember. And this is critical in terms of how we proceed as a party. And we're not shy as a party. We have a progressive platform and a presidential candidate who's committed to a broad and progressive agenda. And I should add, a candidate who doesn't accept contributions from corporate PACs. And over the coming months, if a contributor gives to our party, that contributor is signing on to our agenda, not influencing it. But this committee at this time is not the place to litigate these issues. Our mission is very clear. We need to have a successful convention, an inclusive nominating process moving forward, and most importantly, the election of Joe Biden. I move to table this resolution.
There has been a motion to table this proposal. Is there a second?
There is.
A motion to table has been moved and seconded. We're going to now move to a vote on the motion to table this proposal. Repeat, this is a vote on the motion to table this proposal. Please vote using the Rules Committee portal in your browser and select a voting option. Yes, no, or abstain on a motion to table this proposal. A yes vote would support laying the proposal on the table. We will give you a 30-second warning.
I have a point of order or clarification here. Tabling until when?
I'll respond under the rules of parliamentary procedure generally until someone makes a successful motion to take it off the table. With the expiration of the committee, that wouldn't be possible. I mean,
Seen enough? I usually don't play clips that long, but I really felt, you needed to see the whole thing. So let's get something straight. I'm not even going to get into the disclaimers about Donald Trump. We all know Donald Trump is racist, dangerous, Islamophobic, sexist, probably raped many women, laundered money from foreign countries, just a terrible person, largely responsible for the mass death count in the United Corporations of America. We know this. There is a deadly pandemic in America. Over 150,000 people have died. Frankly, that number is probably closer to 200,000. Thank you for the super chat. Chiriatsu, $2. DNC garble was pure gaslighting. Shameful. Appreciate it. Mike Blair, $2. Democrats. Appreciate it. I'd Marie, $4.99. Please interview Nick Brana. This is exactly what he talked about. I've moved on from Bernie and I'm now a volunteer with the MPP. As soon as Nick Brana gives a coherent explanation for how MPP candidates would actually get on all ballots, I would love to interview him because I haven't heard one. So it's easy to say we're going to start a third party. I'm theoretically for it. I'm not married to the Democratic Party. But if you don't have a roadmap, I don't know how you're actually going to deliver on actually seizing power. I don't give a shit about starting a third party if you cannot win. Let me be clear. I don't care if you cannot start a third party, if you cannot win. By the way, I just happened to save this. Look what's going on in New York. New York Libertarian Green Party sue state officials over new restrictive ballot access rules. A lot of people don't realize this as they go over, and this isn't about Nick in particular, but this is just the truth. Governors control ballot access, meaning establishment Democratic governors control ballot access. So, yeah, you could create a people's party, and that's all wonderful. I'm not against it. But what is your battle plan to actually ensure that if you have a candidate that could have appeal, he's going to be on the ballot. He or she is going to be on the ballot. So, again, I've never heard this from Nick or other third-party advocates, because the Green Party has had a hell of a time getting ballot access. So I digress. Thank you, Jonathan Silva, £5. There's more democracy in the Chinese Politburo than this party. So now that we got out of the way, Trump, they voted down Medicare for all. Not even throwing the niceties, throwing the platitudes. Just no Medicare for all. You lost your job. Over 50 million people have filed unemployment claims. Sorry. We'll expand COBRA, is the brilliant plan from Queen Pelosi. Now, just putting or changing rules that the DNC could no longer take corporate PAC money. You have the same old bullshit from these rules committee members who often, these two white men who are talking, are often big donors that are on committees, real estate developers, think tank members, former or current lobbyists. I mean, the inmates are running the asylum, folks. The inmates are running the asylum. Do you see the smirk on these people's faces? Maria Cardona, who is hosting or moderating the committee, is literally a lobbyist. Jen, if you could find it, The Intercept has done great work on this sleazeball. Oh, she speaks Latino and goes on CNA, so she's great. These are the people. And again, I don't particularly care about the DNC convention. I don't care about the platform. It's meaningless. The Rules Committee, okay, I mean, if you move superdelegates to the second ballot, they're going to come up with a different way to screw you. But it just shows you these people with a straight face, as they rig the economy, as they rig the political system, as they rig with bribery and a legalized auction. I'm not in love with my old boss Jenk anymore, but he was right. We live under a legalized auction, legalized bribery. We live in the United Corporations of America. You have Brent Welder, ran in Kansas. Great progressive from the heartland, as they say. He's saying, we're supposed to be the party of the people here. Can we get rid of corporate PAC money? These two white guys, now's not the time. Now's not the time. They told us in 2004, now's not the time for this progressive purity. We need to get Bush out of the White House. Obama fed us a steady diet of progressive platitudes. We're going to heal the world, a post-partisan America. And then he allowed a Citigroup executive to literally hire his whole cabinet and pick his cabinet. We were told in 2016, now's not the time. Now's not the time for this. We have to stop this lunatic Trump from becoming president. 2018 midterms, we were told, now's not the time to fool around with Medicare for all, progressive policies. We got to retake the House on the road to defeating Donald Trump. 2020, now's not the time. Now's not the time for purity. And if that wasn't sickening enough to you, take a look at Barney Frank. Arrogant, gross, voter shaming, trying to literally exploit the legacy of the newly passed away John Lewis, whose funeral was today, by basically voter shaming people who choose either not to vote or not to vote for Joe Biden. Barney Frank, who is the chairman of this so-called committee. Take a look at this.
Those are the people who think they're too pure to vote. Those are the choices that John Lewis asked America to make than any we've ever had, certainly since the Civil War. Beyond that, though, I do want to address another group that pays tribute to John Lewis, but does not apparently understand his message. Those are the people who think they're too pure to vote. Those are the people who say that they don't have a perfect candidate here. By the way, I understand what a good feeling it is to vote for a perfect candidate, because once in my life, I got to vote for a perfect candidate. By the time I ran for re-election, I had a couple of issues with my record, but I voted for me anyway. And I think in this case, the differences are so enormous that we just cannot accept as in any way rational the argument that people can't vote in this election because Joe Biden doesn't conform to everything they care about. And again, I've read people saying, well, we don't want to get involved in that messy process. We don't want to compromise. John Lewis, his life completely demolishes the notion that you cannot be idealistic and pragmatic at the same time. John was more completely devoted to the humane principles that we should be standing for than anybody I've ever met. He put himself in physical danger, not just once, not just on one bridge, but he lived that way for years, voluntarily forswearing the protection of the law because he was challenging the fundamentals of people who were so savage in their distaste for those principles. And at the same time, he was deeply engaged in democratic politics, both small d and big D. And I want to say to people who say they cannot participate, they can't vote because they can't make those compromises. They cannot sacrifice their purity. I borrow this from TV. The question isn't, are you smarter than a fifth grader? It is, are you morally purer than John Lewis?
Wow. Wowzers. Well, first of all, I don't think anybody would argue John Lewis is a civil rights hero. Deserves all the praise in the world on the day of his funeral. But we don't need to pretend he was wonderful till the end. As he got older, he became your typical Democrat. I'm not shitting on him, but Barney Frank, who's as corrupt as they come, was a little bit more progressive when he was in Congress, but has fallen way, way out of that. To try and shame people and their purity and somehow say they're dishonoring John Lewis, get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. And please keep pressing the like button. We got 460 people watching. 358 of you have pressed that like button. First of all, what Barney Frank seems not to understand, and maybe he does understand, but he just doesn't give a shit. People choosing not to vote or choosing not to vote for Joe Biden, it's not purity. It's not, no, this sushi place isn't good enough for me. It's purity, what Barney Franks calls purity, other people would call living or dying. For most people, Medicare for All is not a purity test. It's, can I live or will I die? Will my children be okay? Or will they die? For most people, banning corporate money, taking out money out of politics, it's not simply because we're just, we're gonna kick and scream and take our ball and go home. It's because our conditions in life, our economic conditions, our social conditions, we are constantly on the brink of economic and social collapse. It's called survival. Maybe Barney Frank forgot that. So these Neanderthals on this committee, and frankly, Bernie Sanders, from what I'm told by multiple people on the committee, having Jeff Weaver try to bully them out of even making proposals for rules changes, to not even put up a fight against these people, it's disgusting. And to show you, Brent Welder, who was the one that proposed that no corporate PAC money, tweeted out after, today, as a Bernie Sanders nominee on the DNC's Rule Committee, I proposed an anti-corruption amendment to ban corporate PAC money to the DNC and to ban corporate lobbyists from serving on the DNC. The Biden campaign recruited a corporate lobbyist on the Rules Committee to speak against it. Then, virtually all Biden nominees on the committee voted to, quote, table the anti-corruption amendment to try and kill it without having to go on the record. But the Bernie Sanders nominees on the committee revolted behind the scenes, and we won a motion to get a recorded up or down vote. Many Biden nominees abstained, but 105 of them are now on the record opposing this anti-corruption amendment. I believe every Bernie Sanders nominee supported it. Thanks to all real progressives for having my back and fighting against the corporate corruption. So this is what it comes down to, folks. This is what they want you to join. This is the quote-unquote resistance. Love trumps hate. Get rid of Trump, even if it means bringing Wall Street back into the Oval Office, even though Wall Street never left. Get rid of Trump's racism, and we'll bring in Wall Street's love for black people. Get rid of Trump's racism, and we'll take all the big bank, fossil fucker, big pharma, big real estate, Silicon Valley, defense contractors. We'll take all of their money. As millions of people face evictions, no health care, permanent job loss, but you're told you don't have a choice. Fuck your purity. We got to get rid of Trump. I don't tell people how to vote. I understand if people feel Trump is so objectionable that they vote for Biden. I get it. I'm not going to shame you. I also get people that say, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep voting lesser of two evils. I'm not trying to cop out, but it's just not my role to tell you how to vote. I don't think journalists should be telling people how to vote. But I will tell you, I'm not going to just pretend that this corruption is okay. You can't, and literally this progressive, Brent Welder, who I'm going to ask to do an interview with, they had to shame them just to get them to vote yes or no. And many of them abstained. This is the party of the people? Are you kidding me? And what's most revolting about this to me, Sam Oser, good old long lost friend there. Hope you're okay in Texas. Hashtag swear jar. Keep it coming. What's most revolting about this, and on this, frankly, I don't blame anyone but Bernie Sanders. I'm not shitting on Bernie like Jimmy and others are, but when he deserves criticism, he's going to get it. Joe Biden, with the help of the media and Obama, was able to concoct this alternate reality brand as middle-class Joe, as lunch bucket Joe, as Uncle Joe, when he's nothing other than a country club Republican, Strom Thurmond, old segregationist, racist corporate servant. He's a union buster based on the donations he takes and the policies he's pushed. He's pro-offshoring jobs. He's not a friend of the worker bee. He's a corporate servant. What do they call him? The senator from MBNA? And Bernie Sanders, instead of going hard at him and basically saying, we're running Hillary Clinton with different parts, going at him, not for exposing that he's not a friend to the unions, exposing that he today would be pushing TPP, exposing that he literally told Wall Street nothing will fundamentally change. Bernie didn't run ad on this. Since then, I reported here, Biden at a private fundraiser told donors, corporate America has to change its ways. It's not going to require legislation. I'm not proposing any. We've got to think about how we deal people back in. Think about that for a second. He has Wall Street donors on a Zoom call because we're in a pandemic. He says, guys, you better change your ways. Anybody remember Hillary Clinton said? I told them to cut it out. Corporate America has to change its ways. It's not going to require legislation because I ain't proposing any. We've got to think about how we deal people back in. Oh my God, this plethora of platitudes. Jen is in the super chat. I didn't see this email, but I trust her. TYT essentially sent a campaign email supporting Biden the other day. You know, here's my problem, and I'm not going to get into a rant about TYT, although I'd love to. Swirly Swirl, $5. Let's get rid of Nancy. I'd love to. I'd love to. Jason Milton, $5. Bernie is getting pushed out, but you notice Biden has sounded progressive today at the AFT conference. What do you think is going on? A move to the left? Jason, God bless you. Thanks for the super chat. It doesn't matter what the words that come out of Joe Biden's mouth. We don't even know if Joe Biden's actually lucid some of these speeches. It matters who he surrounds himself with. His record is what matters. He could say whatever the hell he wants to say. If you go back far enough, Bill Clinton ran as a Bernie Sanders progressive in 1992. Look it up. Thomas Frank wrote a great book, Listen Liberal. Bill Clinton ran as a Bernie Sanders progressive. How'd that work out? President Obama ran as a progressive. I'm going to heal the world, part the seas. Al Waski, $10. Keep independent media alive by giving what you can. I agree. Keep independent media alive and Status Coup thriving by joining us as a member. Statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. As a member, enjoy our behind-the-scenes members video, our monthly members call, exclusive photos from in-the-field reporting trips, all that good stuff. For $5 a month, this is how we grow. Help us grow. But you know, if TYT wants to send out Biden campaign emails, I mean, I'm not going to comment on that. But here's the thing. I don't believe in being a seasonal progressive. Oh, by the way, I forgot to announce, in 45 minutes, I will be a guest on Graham Elwood's show. Totally forgot that. I should have said that in the beginning. So I'll be on Graham Elwood's show at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. So I'm going to wrap up soon, I guess, for that. So definitely catch me on Graham Elwood's show in 45 minutes. But what's incredible to me about all this, you can't be a seasonal progressive. Again, I understand, particularly in swing states, Donald Trump is reprehensible. I mean, for God's sakes, look at what Trump is tweeting today. With universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote? I don't want to be like, I knew this was coming, because I did tweet it a couple weeks ago. But this is not shocking. But it is unreal. Trump knows at this point, unless a real miracle happens, unless Biden combusts in front of our eyes on that debate stage, he's going to lose in a landslide. So he's trying to delay the election, now citing COVID and absentee ballots. It's not going to work. He doesn't even have the legal authority to do so. But he's going to try. And as I've said, be careful. You remember Fox News and the right wing? They freaked out that 2 Black Panthers were in front of polling places in 2008. Well, you wait till the white militiamen, the MAGA men, the Proud Boys, all these groups, wait till they show up at polling booths just to monitor election integrity for Trump, i.e. intimidate people from voting. It's coming. But my point is, no, I'm not going to be like TYT. I'm not sending out emails for Joe Biden. I understand if you have to vote for Joe Biden. I understand if, for whatever reason, particularly in swing states, if you're, even though you can't stand Biden, you just want Trump gone. I get it. Not shaming you. I also understand people who choose not to. If you're mad at me, if you call that a cop-out, it is what it is. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I don't think that's my role. But I don't agree with progressive outlets, so-called progressive outlets, just turning the cheek, ignoring what's right in front of you. This is corruption. We know it's happening in the Republican Party. That's why I don't bother reporting on it. You don't need me to tell you this same shit happens in the Republican Party. But this is supposedly sold to us as the opposition party. This shit that they table a change just to ban corruption. That's what he's trying to do. They're trying to ban corruption. Gino Fast, 99.99. Thank you so much, Gino. Michigan just rolled back to stay-home status. Whitmer disrespected the Upper Peninsula when she opened it up for downstate people to come up here and poo in my yard. Now COVID numbers skyrocket, and now she says we quarantine. Sacrifice rural communities to save face, in my opinion. Gino, please, next time they come poo in your yard, get video so I could post it on Status Coup. You're breaking news to me. I didn't know that she just quarantined. Listen, Gretchen Whitmer, I don't want to go off course. She's a disaster too. She promised Flint that she was going to reopen the free water stations because the water isn't clean in Flint. 6.5 years later, an American city, predominantly black by the way, still has dirty water. Corruption, no one has been sent to jail. Nobody has even faced a jury trial 6.5 years later. And she, coming in as governor, said, I'm going to reopen the water stations that Rick Snyder shut down. They're still shut. Thank you, Gino, for your continued support. Sorry about the quarantine. So, no, this is corruption. And frankly, I ain't on board if this is what Bernie Sanders is going to do for the next 5 months. I understand Trump is a unique threat. I understand another 4 years of him would be disastrous. But when you choose, we're talking Bernie now, to do hostage videos with Joe Biden, this live stream they did a few months ago, when you choose to go on cable news and basically you're like a shell of your former self, when you choose during a deadly pandemic where tens of millions of people have lost their jobs, tens of millions of people have lost their health insurance, not to publicly challenge Biden to come over to your side. You're not risking Biden by doing that. You're not contributing to his possible defeat. You're saying, I'm supporting Joe Biden for president, and as such, I want him to seize the moment. I want him to do what FDR did, which is to see the unique crisis we're in and rise to the occasion and blow smoke up his ass if you need to. That's why, although I support Joe Biden, I'm talking as Bernie, I need to call for him to do the right thing here. Now is not the time to expand COBRA. Now is not the time for tweaks to Obamacare. People can't afford Obamacare. People can't afford to pay deductibles. People are going to have to choose between rent and groceries. Rent, groceries, or medicine. Utilities bills, student loans, car payments, car insurance. Things go wrong with the house. But he's not doing that. Why? I mean, for the story I did a few months ago, I was told everything from he's deathly afraid of being, going down as Ralph Nader 2.0 and being blamed if Trump wins again. But as I've always said, is he naive enough to think they're not going to blame him either way? They're going to blame Bernie. If Biden loses, they'll blame it on Russia again, or they'll blame it on not enough Bernie supporters came out, and Bernie should have done more. Gino Fast, $4.99. Is this tax deductible, Jen? I promise you, super chats are not tax deductible, but we appreciate them. And yes, subscribe to Status Coup if you haven't yet. So, I mean, to me, this is absolutely disgusting. And shame on TYT or any other outlets that are ignoring this. Here's another one, by the way. This is Shauna East. She's a member of the Rules Committee. She tweeted out, absolutely outrageous that the DNC 2020 Rules Committee chairs organized the tabling of resolution number 7 to ban corporate lobbyists from being DNC members. They had the chat closed down so no one could make a motion to untable it and bring it to a vote. Shameless. The meeting basically descended into madness from there. This is our excuse for democracy. I sang. What is your $10? What is your opinion on Green candidate Howie Hawkins and Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen? I appreciate your journalism. Tell you the truth, I've reached out to Howie Hawkins' campaign 3 times. They haven't gotten back to me, so that's my opinion. If independent media reaches out, respond. I was willing to interview him. I still am. What's my opinion? I mean, he's progressive. I think he buys into Russiagate a little too much, but he's progressive. Certainly the best candidate on paper compared to Biden and Trump. I don't have a strong opinion. Honestly, I know nothing about Joe Jorgensen. I don't want to lie to you. I don't know anything about him. Keep those super chats coming. So, I mean, this is what's masquerading as democracy, as the opposition party, as resistance. It is pathetic. Lastly, want to move on real quick. And by the way, I'll be on Graham Elwood at 7 o'clock and 4 o'clock Pacific. And Jen is going to be posting a video right here on the channel a little bit later. She has been like a bloodhound following the latest with Jeffrey Epstein, who's obviously didn't kill himself, and Ghislaine Maxwell. So we'll have a video from Jen on that in a little bit. Did I miss a super chat from Swirly Swirl? Swirly Swirl, $5. Doesn't Snyder have to appear in court now? He appeared privately in a civil deposition a couple weeks ago, but he has not been forced to publicly appear for questioning. No, but Snyder did appear privately in a civil deposition. Kathy Lloyd, $100. Holy cow, Jordan. Gino, I need to match you and keep these kids on the road. Thank you so much, Kathy. I really, really appreciate it. That is so generous. These contributions really help. So I want to real quick and keep those coming. This is from the American Prospect, and it's truly great reporting. They've been doing some great work over there. Dave Dayen is great. I wish this came out earlier during the primary, but whatever. Basically, they popped the lid that while Kamala Harris was Attorney General of California, she basically defied a Supreme Court ruling to decarcerate California jails. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Let me put it in the super chat if you want to read it. I mean, to me, Kamala Harris would be one of the 2 things that Joe Biden could do to actually blow this thing. Senator Kamala Harris, a leading candidate to be Joe Biden's running mate, repeatedly and openly defied U.S. Supreme Court orders to reduce overcrowding in California prisons while serving as the state's attorney general, according to legal documents reviewed by the Prospect. Working in tandem with Governor Jerry Brown, Harris and her legal team filed motions that were condemned by judges and legal experts as obstructionist, bad faith, and nonsensical, at one point even suggested that the Supreme Court lacked the jurisdiction to order a reduction in California's prison population. The intransigence of this legal work resulted in the presiding judges in the case giving serious consideration to holding the state of California in contempt of court. Observers worried that the behavior of Harris's office had undermined the very ability of federal judges to enforce their legal orders at the state level, pushing the federal court system to the brink of a constitutional crisis. This extreme resistance to a Supreme Court ruling was done to prevent the release of fewer than 5,000 nonviolent offenders, whom multiple courts had cleared as presenting next to no risk of recidivism or threat to public safety. Despite a straightforward directive from the Supreme Court to identify prisoners for release over a 2-year period, upholding a 2009 ruling that mandated the same action over the same timeline, the state spent the majority of that period seesawing back and forth between dubious legal filings and flagrant disregard. By early 2013, it became clear that the state had no intention to comply, leading to a series of surprisingly combative exchanges. While Harris's ultimately unsuccessful presidential campaign saw questions raised about her criminalization of truancy and her tough-on-crime reputation during her time as San Francisco's district attorney, her role in California's prison reduction case largely flew under the radar, though it was decried at the time. How did Harris's office turn to a simple court order to release low-risk prisoners to prevent cruel and unusual punishment into a constitutional fiasco? Federal courts seldom look to prisoner release. It's a remedy of last resort. But California was a unique case with its uniquely awful prison system. At its height, it was stuffed to some 200% of its design capacity. There were not enough beds or medical personnel, but an extreme excess of bodies. In one prison, 54 prisoners shared a single toilet. Preventable deaths due to substandard and overstretched medical care occurred every 5 to 6 days. Suicidal inmates were locked in telephone booth-sized cages for 24 hours at a time. For nearly 2 decades, Republican and Democratic administrations essentially ignored the problem, despite constitutional protections for prisoners against cruel and unusual punishment enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Finally, in 2009, a federal court found that no other plausible solution existed for getting the state to conform to a constitutionally reasonable standard than a forced prisoner release. The state, under Harris, appealed the district court ruling, and on May 23, 2011, the Supreme Court found in Brown v. Plata that California's prison system was in violation of its prisoners' Eighth Amendment rights. Despite its relatively conservative tilt, the court identified prisoners' release as the most effective method for ending the state's constitutional violation. The verdict split 5-4, with conservative Justice Anthony Kennedy joining the court's liberals. He said, including his majority opinion, discussed an array of gruesome details from inside those prisons and condemning the state for facilitating, quote, needless suffering and death. At that point, Harris had been the state's attorney general for just over 4 months, but the Supreme Court ruling would have to be enacted on her watch. Every 6 months, the state would have to show it decreased its prison population in compliance with a threshold overseen by 3-judge district court panel. It soon became clear that the state would hold out on complying with the judicial order. 2011 passed with little progress made on the declaration's mandate, and by 2012, a report surfaced that proved the state actually intended to increase its prison population. In May of that year, Harris's office confirmed their intent not to comply with the order, but instead to seek its modification. Then, bizarrely, they said that the Supreme Court did not have the jurisdiction. At one point, even suggesting that the Supreme Court lacked the jurisdiction to order a reduction in California's prison population. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court is the ultimate jurisdiction for pretty much anything. So, Kamala Harris, being in love with mass incarceration, loving jailing people, loving keeping them in jail, loving going against single mothers, in some case homeless single mothers, for truancy, laughing about legalizing marijuana. These are not breaking news situations. But the question is, why? Why, if the Supreme Court, for actual health reasons, I just described, actually the American Prospect, with their great reporting, described the heinous conditions in California's prison. Overcrowding, lack of hygiene. Why would Kamala Harris, as Attorney General, pick a fight with the Supreme Court rather than let my people go, as my Jews would say? The prisoners that they were told to release were nonviolent prisoners. I didn't read the whole story, but later in the story, you know what Kamala Harris's brilliant idea was? We're not actually going to let them go and free them. We're just going to move them to fight California's wildfires. So instead of following what the Supreme Court mandated, let's take the prisoners, most of them black or brown, and we'll just put their lives at risk fighting California's wildfires, which they don't have any training to do. I'm not making this shit up. That was the counter proposal that Kamala Harris and the state put forward. Thank you, N Stark 007, $5. Yeah, they voted for corporate interest, but did they wear kente cloth? Because if they didn't use the right tokenism, I'm out. Good one. First of all, the Supreme Court, I'm not a champion of the Supreme Court. It's all politics. It's disgusting. But how is this person claiming to be, I'm going to prosecute the case of Trump? We call out William Barr, rightly so, for being a stooge for President Trump. He's basically President Trump's personal attorney rather than the head of the Department of Justice, which is supposed to be independent. He has been brazenly corrupt. Some would say lawless. But Kamala Harris, as Attorney General of California, defied a Supreme Court mandate. The Supreme Court mandated that there be a 3-judge panel to oversee the decarceration of California's overcrowded prison system. And she basically told the Supreme Court to take a hike. This goes with Kamala Harris fighting against releasing a father who, by all accounts, the New York Times reported on this, was wrongly convicted for sexually assaulting his daughter. It came out later, multiple witnesses, including the daughter's mother, that she was a pathological liar, that she was unstable. Kamala Harris, even though she was compelled by a court to release him, fought to keep this man in prison in California because he didn't file under the right something to be released. Why is this more important than usual? Folks, let's be clear. I reported on it yesterday. Joe Biden let it slip that it looks like Kamala Harris is going to be his vice president. Sure, something could change between now and next week. It's supposed to be announced next week. But he had on his little note card, don't hold grudges. This is very important because, frankly, if you think Dick Cheney was running things for George Bush, wait for whoever is Biden's VP. I don't say this to mock Biden, but I've been saying it for a year, and I'll keep saying it. He's clearly not well. There's clearly cognitive decline going on. You diagnose it. I'll just say a cognitive decline because I'm not a doctor. So whoever his vice president is going to be in a very, very unique position to have a lot of authority, to have a large portfolio of policy, both domestic and foreign, and to possibly become the next president after Biden, possibly before 2024 if Biden doesn't finish out for whatever reason. And my strong assumption, again, just speculation, I'm not reporting anything, I don't know this for fact. Why do you think Kamala Harris would fight so hard to keep prisoners in California? Could it have something to do with all her donors in California? She was a darling of the Democratic Party, dating back to when she was California Attorney General. She was being groomed for the Senate, a rising star. Go back, read the articles. Democratic Party donors and heavyweights, they don't exactly mind packed prisons. They don't mind for-profit prisons. They don't mind prison labor. They don't mind tough on crime. Just ask Uncle Joe, the author of the crime bill. but it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, can you imagine for a second if, I don't know, Louis Gohmert was the Attorney General of Texas? Louis Gohmert, by the way, has COVID now because he wouldn't wear a mask, and he defied a Supreme Court ruling. It would be all over MSNBC, all over CNN, all over everywhere, rightly so. But if it's in, if it's a member of the resistance, oh well. K-Hive, come at me, I dare you. So I strongly, strongly encourage you. Read this piece from the American Prospect. It's really, really good. They do good stuff every day anyway. All right, folks, I'll be on Graham Elwood in a half hour, so hope you tune in there. I hope, if you haven't yet, hint, hint, go get your Status Coup mask, hot off the presses. Don't they look great? I think we had 30 people order them yesterday. Jen sent me a text, so let me see how many have so far. Oh, we've had 5 mask purchases so far this live stream. Hopefully we get more. One more time. This is not N95 masks. These are not certified anything, so we don't want you to get the wrong idea, but they will cover your nose, mouth, all that. And you could represent the coup while following safety measures. So we hope you'll purchase that. If you go to the store, you could also get a Status Coup shirt, tote bag, pillowcase, hoodie, poster, phone cover, mug for your tea, coffee, or other substances. Whatever that is, I don't even know. Yoga workout pants. Oh my God, the options are endless. Some people are asking for bathing suits. We'll work on that. I think we have beach towels too. Is that oh, this is a towel. What the hell was I thinking? This is a towel. So go get them in the store. And also, remember, sign up as a member. Your support keeps us independent and will help fund our reporting in the field on the next trip we take, which we are currently talking about behind the scenes. So I'll see you on Graham's show in a little bit. Thank you for watching. I will be live tomorrow, but a little earlier. So you'll see me live probably in the afternoon. Think like 12:30, 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, because I got something later in the day. So I'll be on the Political Vigilante live soon, 7 o'clock Eastern. Peace out.